In what amounts to lightning speed inside the Beltway, Congress brings the man in charge of the FBI to Capitol Hill to explain his actions and decisions in the Hillary Clinton email nightmare. Words such as intent and cover-up are tossed about with reckless abandon, and it all makes for excellent theater. Big deal. Was anything actually accomplished, all right? The last week has afforded Donald Trump the excellent opening he needed to go after the presumptive Democratic nominee and pound away on what was said, what isn't being said, and even what some believe actually happened. But he has once again headed off into the verbal hinterlands. And once again, those desperate for him to lead Republicans in a November win cannot fathom his game plan and figure out if he has one yet. The Obama administration, their game plan with regard to Afghanistan is the failure so many predicted. Now there's proof American fighter jets abandoned their assistance of Syrian-backed rebels in order to bomb another target in Iraq. And we have ideas about building new refugee camps in Syria for refugees. Let's untangle this all with a man who's been there. Be here with your phone calls and your comments at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Thursday, July 7th, 2016.
That I see evidence of great carelessness, but I do not see evidence that is sufficient to establish that Secretary Clinton or those with whom she was corresponding both talked about classified information on email and knew when they did it, they were doing something that was against the law. Right? So given that assessment of the facts, my understanding of the law, my conclusion was and remains, no reasonable prosecutor would bring this case. No reasonable prosecutor would bring the second case in 100 years focused on gross negligence.
Those who play chess and understand the nuances of the game will best understand the analogy that what happens in Washington, D.C., what occurs behind closed political doors inside the Beltway and in millions of similar places around the world, and what transpires in congressional hearings, chance meetings with the media in open corridors, and tight little gatherings in small cafes in some nondescript towns. It's all about one thing and one thing only. Planning those moves carefully, using your pawns to do the dirty work, winning the game.
If I make it to the other end, I win. If you catch the other dude's king and trap it, then you win. All right, but if I make it to the end, I'm top dog. Nah, yo, it ain't like that. Look, the pawns, man, in the game, they get capped quick. They be out the game early. Unless they some smart pawns.
What the nation saw today was chess players going to work, some of them experts, some of them with no idea how to play the game if they had the ghost of Bobby Fischer in their ear telling them what to do. It's all about going after the king, in this case, the queen, and using every pawn possible to do their dirty work and carve out a victory. The congressional hearings seeking clarity on exactly what has happened these last few days with regard to Hillary Clinton and the email issue was a fascinating and sometimes ponderous affair. But it was a chess match where the final act has yet to be played. Because one thing is still not as clear as many people would prefer it to be. What exactly is the end game? Your calls and comments always part of our conversation. Get on the line now at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. Be prepared to be called on momentarily. First, let us welcome back the veteran presidential strategist, Newsmax TV political analyst, a best-selling author. His latest book, Armageddon, How Trump Can Beat Hillary, is a bestseller on Amazon in political commentary and opinion. Dick Morris is on the hard line and will take your calls as we proceed. Dick, always a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you. Let's get rolling. Let's get right back to FBI Director Comey, who was asked flat out today at the congressional hearings if Hillary Clinton broke the law, and this is what a lot of people are listening to. Here we go.
The question I always look at is there evidence that would establish beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody engaged in conduct that violated a criminal statute? And my judgment here is there is not.
All right, here we go, Dick. Nancy Pelosi today called this an investigation of the investigation of the investigation. And of course, that's something that she would say. But we do have to ask, and your opinion here is big because you've been in these war rooms before. Where do we go from here now that Congress has had these hearings?
Well, the first thing is that she may not be indicted criminally, but she certainly is indicted in the court of public opinion of lying. Whether mishandling classified information deliberately or not, certainly of lying. Everything this woman has been saying for the last 7 months has now been proven to be a lie. She did receive and send classified information. She was hacked. Her server was hacked. She did use more than one device. She did not turn over all the emails that she was supposed to. Her attorneys did wipe the server clean. And everybody now knows, as an FBI statement of fact, that she is a liar. And in the last Rasmussen poll taken Tuesday night, 56% of the American people wanted her to be indicted, 34% not. 25% of Democrats said yes, 63% of independents said yes. So whatever it is legally, it is a catastrophic political hit for Hillary.
Then let's look at your column where you indicated that the next step should be, in your opinion, to indict Hillary Clinton for contempt of Congress, for lying to Congress under oath during the Benghazi hearings, because according to the FBI director, all the statements that she gave were false, Dick, but what they're saying is they can't prove that they were actually lies. It's a pretty thin line to draw here.
Yeah, I'm not sure the public will appreciate that. I think that a congressional hearing, a congressional referral to the FBI is in order here, and it's going to be very interesting to see the FBI try to thread the needle between giving false testimony and lying. She obviously knew that she sent or received classified information. She obviously knew that not all the emails were turned over. She, of course, knew that she was using multiple servers. She obviously knew that her email was hacked. At one point, there's an email telling her it's been hacked. So I think that is the next step. But politically, I think the problem that Hillary will face now is an electorate that believes fundamentally at core that she lies. And I don't think any kind of Clintonian distinctions, it depends on what the meaning of the word is, will stand up now.
Part of that clip that we played coming in, or to talk about Chest, from the magnificent cable series The Wire, talked about the pawns that are involved and how they're used. Let's look at that, Dick, because James Comey testified that Hillary Clinton gave non-cleared people access to classified information. He did also indicate in his testimony that the lawyers were the ones who likely had access to a lot of these emails. He said that maybe Hillary Clinton didn't know that they were deleted, but they still had contact with them. We're talking about lawyers, aides, other people that are involved here who all had some kind of access. Do you think that we'll get to the point where they will start looking at people, start picking them off, and maybe then see if they can find somebody who can give them an inside slice of information for their testimony?
No, because they're part of the administration. I think that the FBI has gone as far as it can with Obama in the presidency and Loretta Lynch as Attorney General. But I do think there are three fruitful areas of additional inquiry. One we spoke of, which is, did she lie to Congress? The second is, what happened in the meeting between Lynch and Bill Clinton? They both should be put under oath. They both should be questioned extensively about that. Lynch will be on next week. And thirdly, there are still tens of thousands of emails from Hillary's top staff, Centennial, the Clinton consulting firm, and the Clinton Foundation, that have not been revealed, and they have asked the judge for permission, the State Department has, not to reveal them until mid-2018 because of the time it would take to process them. I expect the judge will tell them to go fly a kite and demand that they be revealed real soon. And I think those emails may contain a smoking gun. Remember why Hillary had a private server, the point I make in our book Armageddon. She had a private server so that she could complete this bribery loop she and Bill Clinton were fomenting, where they would go to a foreign country or a company and say, you have to give Bill Clinton a speaking fee, have him come and give a speech, and then the Secretary of State will rule in your favor. And the smoking gun to illustrate how this quid pro quo happened had to be done in secret. And therefore, she had to have a private server so they could delete 32,000 emails when the feds came knocking. But they may still be in the email collection of these aides. One last thing, Ed. Peter Schweiker, the guy who wrote the book Clinton Cash, conducted a study of every single day of Hillary's tenure as Secretary of State. And he found two spots of 4 days each where no emails were sent or received from the emails that were turned over, and only two. Usually there were hundreds each day. And those two were surrounding the time that Hillary approved the deal to sell our uranium supplies to the Russians, and the day that the president of Colombia, Uribe, agreed to give the Clinton Foundation's chief donor, Justra, control over Colombia's mining facilities. Both of them corrupt deals involving speaking fees. I believe the emails for those days were deleted, and that's why those 4 days, two groups of 4 days each, are uniquely devoid of any Hillary Clinton emails.
Dick, I got about 90 seconds left. I need to spin and talk about something else very quickly. Let's get your experience as a political strategist. Donald Trump, a long press conference last night in Ohio, and he spent an awful lot of time on this whole Star of David issue on the tweet, saying he would have preferred the Star of David tweet remain on his timeline and would not be taken down. Here's what he said.
So you have the star, which is fine. I said, you shouldn't have taken it down. You know, they took the star down. I said, too bad. You should have left it up. I would have rather defended it. Just leave it up and say, no, that's not a Star of David. That's just a star.
Dick, the tweet itself is now down. It is still being used. We're looking at it right now. You, as a strategist here, 60 seconds. Donald Trump had a very tense meeting today with Senate Republicans. He's picking fights among these people who he says should get behind him. Would you not tell Donald Trump, get off this, get back? You've got a perfect opening here. Go after Hillary Clinton. This is what will win you the election. Or do you think he's doing the right thing?
No, he should clearly be on offense now. And clearly he's not doing an effective enough job of offense, and he needs to do better. But as to patching up with fellow Republicans, I've long said on your show, Ed, and I still believe that he needs to alienate the elders of the party. The voters of America dislike the Bushes as much as they dislike the Clintons. And they believe that they are working hand in glove, Democratic and Republican establishments, to screw the average American. And by attacking both parties, the duopoly of both parties, and the insiders in the global financial network, I think he is really going to attract Sanders voters.
From the strategist who has been there before, reminding everybody once again that his latest book that you should pick up if indeed you want to learn a little bit of the lessons of Washington that Dick Morris has learned over the years, Armageddon, How Trump Can Beat Hillary. It is available on Amazon and bookstores around the country. Dick Morris, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Next up, a call for building camps in Syria to house refugees. Let's talk to somebody who's been there and say whether it will really work. We'll talk about that and more in your phone calls when the Hardline continues.